So, the Oscars are back, baby! Yay! And can I just say, this might be the best lineup we've had in a long time. Not just in terms of best picture categories, but everything else in between. Supporting actor is especially a toss-up. Like, the weakest in that category is probably Jacob Elordi. But even then, dude is easily the best part of the movie he's been nominated for. But in a similar vein to last year, I wanted to rank the best picture nominees from least to most deserving of the win. Before we do that though, I want to talk about a couple of the other categories real quick if you don't mind. The lineup for best actor is extremely stacked. We have Timmy, Leo, Wagner, Mike, and Ethan. I do want to mention though, I think Joel and Jesse would have been welcome additions to the team, but I'd struggle to pick a replacement out of these merry men. But my pick is ultimately gonna land on Wagner. I was rooting for Timmy last year, and I do think Marty Supreme is his chance to walk away with the award, but Wagner produces, similarly to Michael B. Jordan, multiple performances, and he's grand in every one of them, particularly the charming Armando Solimos. Anyone that's rooting for Benicio to get Best Supporting this year should also be backing Wagner because they're both just playing charming guys. For actress, this is a no-brainer for me. Rose Byrne stands with her head held high at the top of the table. She produces such an exhausting performance in If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, and while her character has some serious flaws, you can't help but feel empathy for her character. That fucking kid of hers, I wanted to kill that kid, man. Renata is easily a second pick for me, but I think we all know Jessie Buckley already has her name engraved in that Oscar. In terms of supporting roles, I'm gonna give it to Stellan Skarsgård for the men, and for the women, it's a close one, but my pick is Inga Ibsdottir Lilias. Both of those actors are standouts for anybody who hasn't seen Sentimental Value, by the way. My picks for the other categories are on screen now, but look, I've delayed it long enough. Here is my list for this year's Best Picture lineup.
And now, our feature presentation.
Yeah, cheers for that, mate. I'm sure I'm not alone in having this at the bottom, and ultimately it does just come down to the contrast in quality among the other 9 contenders, especially when there were other options for the 10th spot. F1 is a competent enough movie. It's thrilling and well shot with good performances by Brad Pitt and Kerry Condon, but what lets it down is the screenplay. There is a lot to be desired there. The story is extremely lackluster, packed to the brim with tropes, and look, it's been told a million times before about the veteran racer going up against the new kid on the block, and that can be a good starting point, but Kaczynski and friends don't do anything inventive with this foundation. It's baffling that this is even in consideration for 2026's Best Movie. Now, I know how this looks, okay, but just hear me out. Hamnet is very pretty to look at, don't get me wrong. There's some great shots that still stick out in my memory, but Jessie Buckley did not convince me that she was Agnes Shakespeare, and she is the movie's lead, so she takes up the bulk of the screen time. Maybe it was the chatter around it before, essentially guaranteeing that you will cry, and the movie demands that you must get emotional at points, but I never really clicked with anything that was presented to me. I really wanted to love it, but on the same side of that coin, I think it's time to retire the On the Nature of Daylight song, because that just pulled me right the fuck out. I really enjoyed Frankenstein for the most part, and I can admit this was heavily carried by being able to watch it on the big screen. Frankenstein suffers from what I refer to as Netflix lighting, when it just looks all smoggy or lighting is added digitally afterwards. It's something that a lot of movies are guilty of nowadays, and for a Best Picture nominee to have this is a bit of a no-no in my books. You may as well have just nominated fucking Captain America Brave New World at that point. Guillermo del Toro does an excellent job in sticking to the source material and adapting the story to the screen for a modern audience. Jacob Elordi, as I said before, was definitely the standout, and I don't see how Andrew Garfield could have possibly been the first choice. I don't think I'm alone in saying that Christoph Waltz was also a miscast. Could have easily given that role to literally anybody else in the Screen Actors Guild. You could have even given it to fucking Markiplier. I wish there was more going on with the production design, but that's just a small tidbit. Other than that, I really enjoyed this movie. Yorgos kinda let me down with Begonia, yeah. Begonia is about 2 conspiracy theorist brothers who kidnap a big-time CEO under the suspicion that she's actually an alien. It has some fantastic performances, especially by Jesse Plemons, who is easily the best thing in this. And the story is very, very good until the climax. And I'm not talking about the montage at the end, by the way. That montage is superb. But Yorgos is known for subverting expectations, but with this source material, he feels very limited, particularly with the revelation of Emma Stone's character, Michelle, setting it up as though she can only be either a human or an alien. But I'd have liked to see another outcome. That's my only real gripe, though it is a big one, as it hasn't had a lasting impact on me the same way that killing of a sacred deer, or even Kinds of Kindness did. Josh Safdie's Marty Supreme shows that he's the one with the sauce out of the two brothers, and the one with the more questionable morals, but hey. Marty Supreme is the story of a young prodigy named Marty, who is on the search for greatness and legacy in table tennis. I was highly anticipating this release, and we in Australia were lucky enough to have this release in mid-January. Oh my god. Also, the tallest people in the fucking world sat in front of me when I saw this in cinemas, so I missed the entire opening credit scene with the sperm entering the egg, so I didn't really expect a pregnancy to happen in the movie, so thanks for that, guys. As much as I liked Marty Supreme, I think its claustrophobic elements, which there are a lot of, were used better in Josh's previous movie, Uncut Gems. That movie had so many shifting pieces that you can feel creeping up over your shoulder at all times, but they're still attached to the bigger plot. Marty Supreme has those moments, but they felt somewhat disconnected and messy. The score and cinematography are fantastic, very happy to see it get some recognition at the awards, and every performance here is great. Yes, even his. From here on out, everything is extremely deserving of a Best Picture win in my eyes. Clint Bentley's Train Dreams absolutely floored me with its gentle cinematography, an unusually kind performance by Joel Edgerton, who I've usually seen in grimier movies such as Animal Kingdom or The Stranger, and a snubbed William H. Macy that moved me in more ways than any other performance from last year. Train Dreams follows the life of Robert, a logger who experiences love and loss, all the while the world is evolving around him and he struggles to keep up. I'm sure the cinematography has been spoken about to death, but it's truly beautiful, as is the music, particularly Nick Cave's song that rounds out the movie during the credits. I was lucky enough to see this in a pretty full cinema, and I was moved to tears the second time when I saw it at home. One of last year's most powerful movies, without a doubt. I was lucky enough to see Sentimental Value back in June of last year during Sydney's Film Festival, and I loved it. It tells the story of the Borg family, made up of sisters Nora and Agnes, as well as their father Gustav, who is an acclaimed film director wanting to make a comeback to the film industry with a movie about his adolescence, despite his constant reassurance that it isn't about that whatsoever. Joachim Trier, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, handles the subject matter of generational trauma masterfully with the three family members and makes their bond feel so real. Like, I truly believed that they were all related and that these issues were actually happening between them. Acting across the board is phenomenal, not one person outshining the other, but everyone coming together to hold this thing up on their shoulders. I love the way they navigated Gustav, putting his grief into his work in the hopes to not only make a successful story, but as a way to reconnect with his children. While it is emotional, it didn't necessarily make me burst into tears, but it sat with me for a very long time after leaving the theater. I'm butchering all the director names today. Cleber Mendonça's The Secret Agent is surprisingly not a biopic, but instead a fictional story set during a non-fiction event. While I haven't seen this since June, and there have been no screenings in my city that I was able to attend since then, I have been rooting for this movie since day one. Wagner Moura plays a former professor as he returns to his son who has been living with his in-laws. There, he hides undercover as he's on the run from civil police and discovers information about his mother who died when he was young. The Secret Agent is an insanely directed and insanely shot political thriller that blew me away with its modern framing and flavorful color grading. It perfectly captures a noir look, something that is very rarely done nowadays, and even more, rarely done well. Like, look at this split diopter shot. Whew, and the split screens, don't get me started. Kleber takes some bold swings at Brazil's military dictatorship during the late 70s and lands each hit with ease, and had me sitting up in my chair constantly by how enthralling it was. Especially that second half. It is so fucking good. I'd have loved to see Kleber up for a Best Directing Oscar this year because I think he outshines just about everyone else in that category, but maybe another day, brother. Maybe another day. When I first saw Ryan Coogler's Sinners at the IMAX, it didn't really grab me like it did with everyone else. Maybe it was the trailers beforehand. It had me anxiously awaiting the vampire scenes, but those didn't even come until about the midpoint. But the second time I saw it, the vampire stuff I couldn't give less of a shit about, though it does draw a satisfying end to the movie. Sinners tells the story of Smoke and Stack, who return to their hometown after spending some time in Chicago, but they also come back with a buttload of cash, though they're pretty sparse on the details of where they acquired the money. They decide to put together a function for their community as a means of escape, and then an Irish vampire shows up, and all sorts of wacky hijinks occur. Sinners is easily one of the best original movies we've had in some time, and will definitely go down as a modern classic, along with movies such as The Holdovers and Midsommar. You can see that Ryan Coogler gave this his all, in the way that he's explained the IMAX shooting style, as well as the I Lied to You sequence. You'd have to be soulless if you didn't like that music number, let's be real. Sinners is a breath of fresh air in a time when we have How to Train Your Dragon live-action remakes being announced every other day, or Chia Pet IPs actively being developed. The numbers don't lie when it comes to original products like Sinners, and I'm glad to see something like this is actually being recognized. Yeah, look. I don't know what I could really add to One Battle After Another that hasn't been said a million times before. PTA's One Battle is about Bob, a washed-up former revolutionary whose mind is clouded by years of drinking and smoking, that when his daughter gets kidnapped by a psychotic military officer, he struggles on his journey to get her back. This movie is pure PTA, his magnum opus, if you will. When I first saw this, I really wasn't sure if it was one of his best movies, but it has aged so well for me as time progressed. PTA has developed Pynchon books before with Inherent Vice, which a lot of people don't really fuck with, but I think it's easily one of his greatest. With the stoner comedy vibes mixed with the noir mystery genre, it was just so good, man. One Battle was like Inherent Vice on steroids, with an all-star cast and likely PTA's most technically gifted movie yet. Johnny Greenwood on the piano feels messy but orchestrated. Bowman's cinematography had everyone talking when I got to see this 1 week before the rest of the world did. Suck on that, bro. I'll never forget witnessing that sequence on the road for the first time, and then seeing it on the IMAX screen about a week later genuinely made me feel like I was going on a roller coaster. One Battle's runtime goes by in an instant, barely feeling as though it were almost 3 hours. It's the first PTA I feel like I could recommend to just about anyone, and they'll find something to like about it. One Battle perfectly encapsulates the thoughts of everyone over the last few years about the downward spiral the world is in right now. While some may argue that Ari Aster's Eddington may capture that in a better way than One Battle, I think PTA hones in on the subject matter at an angle that makes this movie so timeless. Something you can look at from a modern standpoint or a time from the past, and inevitably this will age like a fine wine as the years go on. For that reason alone, I think this is easily deserving of the crown for Best Picture. And yeah, that's about it. If you've not seen any of these movies yet, you have until... God, when is the Oscars? You have until March 15th, depending on your time zone, to catch up and get your own thoughts. This year has definitely been one of our best in terms of nominees for Best Picture, despite a couple of stinkers, but I'd be happy with just about any of these going home with the prize. It's a shame that Fountain of Youth didn't get any recognition this year. You should definitely watch that on your way out. It is incredible.
Please, no. Just say about the cat in the bag.